All the training lessons you will need to pass the PPL exam are available here. Make sure you're comfortable with these before taking the exam.
Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Microsoft gave us a big surprise over the weekend and put the 2024 Tech Alpha out into the wild, and we got a chance to take a look at a few items, even though it was made abundantly clear that this is not representative at all of the final product. This, however, our first look, or a lot of us is our first look at the career mode and what it might entail, and I wanted to take a look at it from a pilot's perspective, from someone that's currently going through obtaining ratings on a GA basis. That's exactly how I feel about it too. But I'm currently in process right now of working through my instructor, instrument, and commercial ratings. So I already have a private pilot license, but I've done some of these things in real life, and I just want to talk about the similarities and differences. Right off the bat, I was impressed by the lack of instruction, I guess, for the check ride. The check ride instructor, or FAA examiner, is your most silent, most critical passenger you will ever have. Right? They're not there to tell you what to do, to give you insight, to give you pointers. They'll do that after the check ride because they are pilots and they do want to share knowledge. But their job during the check ride is to evaluate you. They're not going to give you tips and tricks. They're just going to see what you do and pretty much not say anything to you, except for maybe like asking you to perform certain things so they can see how you react. But they, like I said, they are your most critical passenger. They're not going to help you. And the sim started off right off the bat just giving me a list of criteria and then putting me out into the check ride. And that's pretty much how it goes. You will become familiar with the first and most important piece of your EFB, or your electronic flight bag, and that would be to get yourself a copy, usually electronic version is okay, of the FAR AIM, or that's an acronym, so it stands for Federal Aviation Regulations / Aeronautical Information Manual. So that has, if you're in the United States, that has all of the laws, regulations, restrictions, everything regarding aviation within the airspace that is managed by the FAA. And Part 61 of the FAR AIM will go through all of your requirements for obtaining your pilot ratings. There are different parts that pertain to different aspects of aviation. Part 91, Part 103, Part 135, Part 121, those areas of the FAR AIM all kind of guideline and dictate the rules for different types of aviation operations, especially when it comes to passenger operations and aeronautical decision making, risk aversion, and safety. Aeronautical decision making is it's probably one of the least talked about but most important aspects of flying, or at least talked about in sim aviation anyways, and most important aspects of real world flying. You have a lot going on and you have a very limited amount of time to make good decisions. So all of those things, everything that you're doing in the aircraft depends on the very first factor about flying for the day is, am I safe? Am I capable of flying? Do I have a head cold, a sore throat? Anything that is going to, we'll speed this up a little bit, anything that's going to affect my ability to make good decisions in the aircraft, that is step number one for safety. So they're kind of approaching the aviation industry the way you would in the real world, and a lot of people I don't think have this type of exposure and how you would go about doing it, right? Like most people outside of the aviation industry might have heard of Embry-Riddle or North Dakota University if you're interested in helicopters. Right? Those are kind of the first known or largest known education entities in the aviation world, and you can pursue a college degree in that setting and format. But really, general aviation is laid out in the guidelines in Part 61 and Part 91 of the FAR AIM, and you don't and are not required to obtain a college degree in order to obtain your ratings. You can go through flight school as outlined by the requirements for obtaining ratings and licenses and passing check rides in the FAR AIM. So there are several different ways and paths that you can take to learn and move forward on your aviation career, and I think that they've actually captured it pretty well in just my little taste that I had with the Tech Alpha and going through my private pilot check ride and my commercial check ride. You know, they don't really walk you through it hand in hand. I mean, the biggest help that you get is the in this version anyways, it was set up with the enter key. The enter key basically was the button that would interact or engage the mission steps. So like you can see in the top right corner, there's a mission step. If there was a radio call or something that needed to be performed, it kind of cheats and it kind of gives it to you in that mission step, and then you would hit the enter button and it would perform the whatever duty. But even in my CPL run, I passed everything first time, not an issue. Obviously, I have some understanding of aeronautical parameters, flights. I'm not a fixed-wing pilot, I'm a helicopter pilot, but I do have some fixed-wing experience. But I primarily fly helicopters. But I was able, with the knowledge that I have, to pass the private and commercial pilot check rides in the career mode that they had offered to let us try in the Tech Alpha on the first go without issue. So those that don't have the same skill set already, they will benefit from running through the training lessons. They weren't available in the Tech Alpha, but they were obviously shown that they were there, because that was the first thing when you go into the career mode that they talk about. They say, hey, here's where you're going to find all the training and yada yada yada. But the only thing that was available to us was doing the actual license check ride. The Tech Alpha, basically, you could tell parts of it were obviously missing, because if you tried to do certain things, it would just crash the software. But they gave us a little preview, and I'm appreciative of what they did, and hopefully they got the telemetry data off of the servers for all the different functions that they were looking for. And once I had completed the commercial check ride, the specialization menu opened up and showed what was available both for airplanes and helicopters, and I could kind of get a glimpse of at least what they had at this point as far as careers. And it was all pretty good and pretty encouraging. And what I did like was how it was structured around real aviation. They've done their homework. They've talked to, obviously you can see they've talked to professionals in the aviation industry. Some of the things I didn't like were some of the weather requirements and radio calls. Like at one point I was doing a sightseeing tour and I called for clearance, and the controller told me that I couldn't have clearance because the field was IFR and there's not a cloud in the sky. And that affected my performance for that mission. So that is kind of frustrating, and those would hopefully be bugs that they work out and continue to improve moving forward. One of the other things that I thought was pretty good, was pretty realistic, was they started you off with 40,000 credits, and after taking the course for the private and the commercial pilot check ride, I only had 5,000 credits left, which pretty close to realism. Honestly, if they wanted to be more accurate to real life, they would have left you in debt. But they left you a little cash, which was good. But then once you were able to start earning money, you can see here that the president of the flying club who set up the mission to begin with took most of the income from the mission and paid you pretty much only for being a pilot, which is accurate to how it would go in the real world when you're first starting out. To be honest, at that point in your flying career, though, you're just happy to be making money instead of paying money to fly. Overall, it was a really good experience. I'm happy with what I was able to do and how it was presented, and I'm excited for where it's going to go. hopefully they'll be able to integrate some of the add-ons. Like I would love to be able to use Say Intentions AI instead of having to hit the enter button to make radio calls. But I'm pretty impressed, and I'm looking forward next month to what the new simulator has to offer. Thanks for watching. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video.